Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Stay Alive. If you die in the game, you die for real.
Directed by William Brent Bell, known for Orphan and The Boy, starring Jon Foster, Samaire Armstrong, Frankie Muniz, Sophia Bush, and Jimmy Simpson. After the loss of a friend, a group of gamers play a game to figure out how he died. There's a connection between the game's death and your real life death. Now you have to play the game to stay alive.
They all died the same way they died in the game. This can't just be some coincidence.
This is a Patreon recommendation from Anthony Michelli, who's been recommending this quite a bit. This is when online gaming on consoles was starting to pop off, and that's why this movie is an interesting watch, because you get to hear them say some dumb shit that was cutting edge at the time and doesn't really hold up now.
Right there. Is something in that wardrobe?
Oh, nice eye.
Thank
So what do we like about this movie, guys?
I like video games and horror movies. I did appreciate the way that things looked. We had almost like a Resident Evil, House of the Dead style throughout the whole movie. The graphics of the in-game video game actually looked pretty solid. I would play that.
Definitely had a really good clock tower feel. I think that's what was fun about it. Maybe it was just
A joined twin blades?
A joined twin blades is what they called scissors.
It actually had some decent setups for jump scares. And I appreciate a good jump scare. It wasn't over the top scary, but they did try a lot of different tricks with people running in the background or faces popping up in mirrors to try and scare you, to make the game feel like it was in real life.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad they didn't overdo it, right? It could have just been annoying, but it was kind of sprinkled in there. So I appreciate that. As for the game, it looked kind of fun, but I didn't really know the goal of the game. I wanted to see them play the game a little bit more.
Is this a dislike or a like?
No, it's a like.
Okay.
It's an appreciation of how good the game is.
If Loomis was indeed testing this game, that means it is barely legal. Yeah, this could be nice.
I did like the production value in general as well. We had great cinematography, some interesting camera moves, and it feels like a great mix between the game and real life.
Yeah, especially near the end of the film when they're going through the cemetery, because we've seen that gameplay so much that when they start to do it in real life, it's very accurate. So you could tell that they took time and effort into finding a location and then having someone build the 3D model.
Shout out to Frankie Muniz, Malcolm. It is cool to see Frankie Muniz in a somewhat serious role. Everybody is trying to play this serious.
The coincidence of finding Miller's game body and its similarity to the actual finding of his real body was quite perfect. That's why we're all so freaked out.
I think Jimmy Simpson did a great job with his douchey, kind of funny character.
Show some respect, man.
Respect.
Yeah.
Well, you pay respect to gamers by gaming, so let's boot it up!
I mean, all our characters were great in this film. I liked everybody. The shocking one was Milo at the beginning. Everyone knows him as Peter from Heroes, or
The father from This Is Us.
You gonna make it over here? Can you come over? You wanna come over?
Dude.
I enjoyed the pacing of this film. It was probably the right length.
I still think they could have tightened it up a little, but I think overall, as a Disney slasher film,
Oh yeah!
I think this was better than could be expected.
You can't just say that and not explain. This is the only slasher film that Disney has ever produced.
What didn't we like about this movie?
So for a movie based on video games, especially when it comes to survival horror, we expect gore, but there's not a lot of blood.
Go fuck yourself.
What we're reviewing is not the unrated version, because the unrated version is nearly impossible to get unless you get it on DVD. There's 15 extra minutes and none of it matters.
The toilet paper is out.
Oh, shoot. Just pass it through the door.
So you want me to...
The door.
All right.
One kill is slightly spruced up, but the rest of the kills, there's not a lot of blood and it doesn't look that great. And with an Elizabeth Bathory kind of story, you would think you would have a lot more blood than we actually saw.
You back yourself into a corner when scissors is a high focus. What I didn't like, and this is a pet peeve, is the third person, first person swapping, because there's angles in the game where that just wouldn't happen, right? So it's clearly not in-game footage.
Now I understand we're watching a movie about a video game that is killing people in real life, and there's bound to be plot holes and such, and looking for logic in these kind of movies is kind of weird anyway. But I will say, they created rules and then broke them, and they only serve certain purposes at certain times. Specifically when it came to the roses.
Yeah, the undead can't cross the twig of a wild rose.
That is what you learn when you read too much goth chick lit. You should lay off the incense, sister.
In some instances, the rose is good to just like throw at her. And then in other instances, an entire rose bush might not protect a person. That's what we thought. And it says game over on the screen. You're like, okay, the guy's dead. But for some reason, Frankie Muniz still lives.
I'm out of goddamn roses, man.
And so then the screen shouldn't have said game over. Because it's like, it's not like a twist. It's just like, oh, he's alive. It's like, no, you told us he was dead.
Hutch, I'm sorry.
Nothing was more annoying than the constant flashbacks of our main character being like almost burned alive.
Lighter works.
We got it the first time. You don't have to show it like 100 more times throughout the film.
I think the tone was a little inconsistent of the characters. Like they were kind of laughing, but like being serious, but like joking, and then sad, and then angry. And it didn't feel like at any point they were kind of like consistently grieving.
A great example of this is our main character whose girlfriend just died.
God damn it! Please don't do this to me!
And then he immediately gets with a new girl.
I don't think it was actually dating October.
It seemed like they were dating though, because she got really mad when Abigail joined the group.
So I think October liked Hutch and Abigail liked Hutch. And so it was a love
triangle.
The two girls didn't like each other. It's a lovey. Even still, his like longtime friends now that he met on the gaming community, they died. He still tried to like kiss Abigail, you know?
Yeah, it was weird. The whole Abigail relationship is strange. Like she just showed up at his friend's funeral, took some pictures, and he's like, I dig her. I mean, I get it. She's a babe.
Girl has got body karate going on.
But now you have quite the predicament. Do you go for Abigail or October? Because they're both into you.
I'm a big fan of gothic babes, so I would have gone with October. And her name's October. Come on, that's fucking dope.
It's pretty gothy.
I'd probably go Abigail. How could you not want to be with a girl who's living in a van down by the river?
So this van is
Home, sweet home.
Why did they even have to introduce that?
You gotta show that sympathy.
My dad's an architect, and my mom's a kindergarten school teacher. I'm going to Princeton this fall.
10, 20 minutes later, she's just like, oh, remember that sentence I said about having parents? I lied. I live in a van.
Pretty much everything I said was bullshit.
Abigail's character specifically was so strange because she showed up to a funeral, she took some pictures from afar, and she just hung around for a while where there's like a bunch of friends that are grieving the loss of one of their pals. I mean, she had lost somebody as well, but I don't think it was the same person.
She was friends with the girl.
The girl that was getting fucked by the pig guy?
Yeah.
I would like to say that I've never seen a funeral for 3 people at one time. But who was she there for?
She was just taking pictures.
Did you just take a picture of me?
I did.
Eventually, wedding photos isn't enough.
Yeah.
You gotta start going for funeral photos.
Damn you, Roger.
What else I didn't like was the ending. Malcolm in the middle busts through the door, grabs them, runs out, and then it's like off to show off some Game Informers and Dreamcast controllers.
Killer.
What was the deal with the cops? That kind of went nowhere.
Hey, I do want to shout out Bunk from The Wire, big fan.
Thanks for your time.
It was weird. It was like the cops should have totally taken Hutch and been like, hey man, all of the people around you are dying. And they even point that out.
Say those figures could place you at the scene of the crime.
And that doesn't come into play. And so you build up this character development with the cops, and then the cops just stop coming up.
The last scene we see is the cops getting the address of Elizabeth Bathory's house.
Their friends are dead. There's a bunch of dead bodies in this house. What should have happened is the cops approach. Well, Hutch is now obviously guilty, and that's how the movie ends. But that's not it.
Or show up when Hutch is fighting Elizabeth Bathory and proving his innocent.
We never want to see that.
You don't like Hutch?
I didn't care for him.
He was the worst one.
Remember when he walked in and just started like touching all of the evidence?
Because he was dealing with the loss of his friend.
I get it. Well, I don't get it. I've never lost a friend, thankfully.
Couple more years, buddy.
Oh my god, I'm the first to die, and so I hope Trav doesn't come in walking on his hands and knees, putting his fingerprints all over. Oh, Trav fucking murdered me while I was playing Resident Evil.
It's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Overall, I thought this was going to be worse off than it actually was. It kept flowing. There's a lot of things that happened. Not all of it was necessarily needed. I think they had a really interesting concept. You know, video game movies in general is kind of hard to do. So they had a cool idea. It was really cool seeing them like do something in game and then it shows up in real life, IRL as the kids say. But I would have wanted to see more of that. Like, I think it could have been gory, but like maybe in-game gory. Maybe instead of dying, they just disappear because so that we don't have to involve the cops and they can just go along. But overall, I think it was a decent movie for its time. So I'm gonna give this 2.5 Mick Poils doing the wake and bake out of 5.
Oh my God. What are you doing, man?
I'm pulling this bitch. What's it look like, man?
Going into a movie about video games taking over your real life is a very cool concept, and they did a pretty good job at not dating themselves. And so watching it as a riffable movie, this doesn't quite land. And as just like a normal movie, I don't think it landed either because there are so many strange decisions. I wasn't a huge fan of like the relationship angles, and like Phineas' character is almost too over the top that I wasn't a fan of him.
Well, I'm effing sorry I offended you. Fuck ass.
And while I did appreciate like the integration of the video games, it definitely could have been worked on a little bit more, especially when you see what they could have done. When they did the crowbar scene at the end, you're like, oh, well, I wish we had that more throughout the beginning, much like Trav said. Like, it's a reasonable movie. I don't think I'd recommend it necessarily, but it's fine. So I'm gonna give this 2 bloody keyboards out of 5.
I thought the production value was good. I enjoyed our characters and the situations they were put in. It's just that some of it was kind of weak. When they killed off the characters, no one necessarily cared about it. But for what it was, the pacing was good and I didn't find myself bored. So with that being said, I'd give this film 2.5 cherry blossom blizzards out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond. Trav wearing the black and orange shirt. That one's kind of fucked. That's from another company. We've got cooler ones in the description. Check it out. Go to the shop. Great shirts. Big fan.